You gotta imagine that Wookiees are vigorous lovers, right?
Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars toys began. And Kenner continues the excitement.
The Empire Strikes Back collection.
El regreso del Jedi.
Welcome to the Star Wars Collector's Archive podcast. It's the Skivecast.
Was Death Star Space Station the snap-open space hatch?
Sometimes known as the Vintage Pod.
Wow, what a weird place!
A monthly audio magazine dedicated to vintage Star Wars toys and memorabilia. Hosted by Skye Payne, Fudd,
Chewbacca's good too!
and Stephen B. Denley.
B-Wing fighters and B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action.
Market data mined by Brisbane Mike,
Luke Skywalker handles his saber well.
and Fratastic Pete.
Boba Fett has a seat who tells him.
Tech support by the Low Parts.
Princess Leia.
FX7, X-Wing Ace. Lando Calrissian, T-Tipper, Microsoft R5D4.
This month's podcast is part one of our Leia Hoth megacast, which Skye has split into two. We have Ron on to talk about new updates. We have some crazy, politically incorrect Skye thoughts. Steve reveals himself as an animal abuser. And we have a new feature from NPR's Skyera Glass, This Vintage Life, with a story you won't believe.
Wampa Wampa!
Welcome to Skivecast number 52.
Number 52, Steve, I'm starting to think maybe we should just drop the whole month thing.
Yeah, that's why, if you've noticed, I've stopped saying the month. I just go for numbers because it kind of frees us up a little bit.
Like maybe loosely affiliated with the month of May. I think that might be the same. Because I think we're still going to keep it basically monthly. You'd think that it's easier to record it in the summer for a professor, but for some reason it never is for me.
Nah, I think that's life.
Yeah, but we're going to have a really good show. A huge roundtable with, hopefully with Joe, Ron, and Matthias. And Steve, I have good personal news.
That's good. What's that?
I'm basically done with my divorce.
Hey, that's got to feel good, man. That's awesome.
And the good news for the show is that it's still going to exist. You may not have known this, but I was pretty close to having to pay for the entire collection over again. And I don't know if I would have been able to.
Man.
That would have been a really painful, horrible thing. And so that would have basically forced me to sell my collection, which then would have made it difficult. I mean, I probably would have kept going with the show, but it would have been a very different show. It would have been Skye angrily buys stuff and says, that was cheaper when I bought it the first time. So,
Man, I'm glad we avoided that.
yeah, it's good. And I'm keeping the house, so, I get to stay. I'm actually very excited. I was getting ready to redecorate, and I found my Rust Never Sleeps poster, Steve. The one with the Jawas on it that we've talked about
awesome.
5 times on the show. I didn't realize I actually had one. I bought it at Amoeba Records in LA, which you know well.
It's right around the corner, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm actually probably going to go out to California this summer, so maybe we'll have an in-person show too.
Oh, that'd be cool. Good deal.
So, yeah, lots of good stuff going on there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, also I'm teaching an online class now.
Oh, that's got to be... It was weird being an online student. How is it like being on the other end of that?
It's weird. I'm I realized the podcast helped me do it.
Yeah.
Because I just talk like I'm talking to people who want to hear me, who want to listen to me.
Right.
I can do that imaginary audience thing thanks to the... But it's got a video component, so it videos me the entire time I talk.
Okay.
So I'm moving my hands more, and I made 2 puppets for the show. I call it the show.
Taking advantage of the medium, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, one of the puppets is the Uki fish from episode 1, which is, as you may know, my favorite Star Wars toy.
Oh, okay. Wait, is that the orange one?
Yeah, it's the orange fish that
snaps. Oh, yeah. That's right. We have mentioned that thing before.
Yeah. Well, because Steve Sansweet didn't even really know what it was.
Right.
Because he has so many toys. I'm like, you never checked out the snapping mechanism on this? He's like, oh, yeah, that's nice.
Well designed.
Yeah, well designed. But I know that we have the rest of our panel waiting, so what we'll do is we'll kind of burn through our opening here, our structured opening, and then have a pretty nice loosey-goosey show. Wait, did I say loosey-goosey last time, too?
I don't think it was last time. We've definitely used that adjective to describe a round table before, but I think it's okay.
What word could we use that's better than loosey-goosey? Gargan Largan?
Free flowing.
Yeah. Did you ever think Gargan was hot?
No.
Yeah. I mean, me neither. Sure. Yeah. That's definitely what I was saying, too. Oh, man, I just remembered something I gotta say to Ron when he comes on the show. Okay, great. So, figure thoughts, character thoughts.
Yeah. So we got Leia Hoth this month.
This is my first aborted side focus.
Ooh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, you know,
Okay.
there's everyone who has a focus usually has to have a side focus because there's just not enough stuff to buy.
Right.
And, I was like, I like Leia Hoth. She's hot, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people collect her. So I bought a couple things. I bought like a nice Canadian, and then I don't know. I just sold it to my buddy Dean, and then he sold it for more. And that was pretty much that. So I've always liked the figure a lot. Actually, my haiku says a little bit of what I think about it.
All right. Yeah. Let's go
do you
for
have
it.
some? Do you have some? Should we go straight to this haiku?
No, that sounds good, man. Let's go for it.
Okay, here's my thought about the figure. It's profound and it's stupid. No playset have I, nor tauntaun, nor snowship ride, but I've got big ears.
Oh man.
That seems silly, but really, out of all the figures, there's nothing to really do with Leia Hoth. Really.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
you could
true.
play around. I guess she's a part of the Hoth playset. But
Yeah.
She doesn't ride the Tauntaun. She doesn't ride the Snowspeeder. She's not an AT-AT. Like, out of the whole Hoth thing, she basically just sits there and
She
talks
directs.
and
She directs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listens. So that's
Right.
And the figure does happen to have very big ears. And then, of course, as you know, I'm in love with Leia Hoth.
Yes. Yeah.
Not Leia in general, right? Not Carrie Fisher.
Right.
Just-
but Leia Hoth. Yeah.
Just that 5 minutes of movies. So this is my love poem to her beauty. Northern and quilted, snowing cold princess of ice, rhapsody in white.
Man, there is a lot of love there.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So those are my skykus. I'm not burning through them too fast, am I?
No, that was. I think that was appropriately paced.
Cool.
So wait, I'm curious. As far as the side focus thing goes, was this pre-Emperor or was it post-Emperor? Or 'cause I know you went for the Emperor stuff too, in addition to Chewie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess it was my first aborted side focus, but my
Okay.
second side focus.
Okay, got it.
Because I had Leia Hoth, and then after that I picked up the Empire Strikes Back 21 backs, and then I tried Black Bespin Guard for a while.
Yeah,
By the end of
I
the
remember
episode,
that. Yeah.
But you know, we'll see where that goes. Now that I actually have some concept, because with a divorce, it's like you don't know what you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So basically, I just lost a lot of money, which stinks. But that's a lot better than losing time with your kids, or losing your house, or your job, or
Yeah, that's for sure.
your mind. So I have my mind. I have less money, but that's the great thing, Steve. Is I found a way to be in the hobby that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, this is we said it like many times before. We're kind of collecting without having to pay anything by doing this.
Yeah. Hopefully that's going to change. I plan on making
Yeah.
at least one big purchase this year.
Awesome. It's funny. I just remembered, like, as far as the Leia Hoth figure, I realized, like, when I really started collecting again, that my loose Leia Hoth that I bought at either a yard sale or a comic shop actually had a Leia Bespin head on it. It was just, I think someone glued to it. And like, wait a minute, what the hell? I looked at it and I found a Leia Hoth, and I realized I didn't even have the real thing the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I still got that thing somewhere. I'll see if I can dig it up.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Let's see, what do we got next?
Well, does Steve want to flip the script?
Yeah, we can do that. Alright, did you get the image that I sent you?
I did. I got the image. I didn't
Okay.
look at it. Was I supposed to look at it?
Well, it kind of helps. You don't really need it, but it just kind of illustrates the kind of stuff I've been looking at for the segment, which is kind of fun.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'll look and I'll try and put it on the enhanced version, although I still don't know how to get the enhanced version to work on my own phone. But,
small kinks.
Yeah.
Anyway, to kind of put it in the framework here, it's that scene where the famous line, just as soon kiss a Wookiee, comes about. And that line is handwritten by Kaz on the page, but rather than just saying, in response, I can arrange that, Han kind of goes on to give this whole little speech about Leia's coldness, which I found really kind of funny. So he responds, there's just no accounting for taste. Too bad. You could use a good kiss. So there's that. All you let yourself think about is the rebellion. The result is that you're cold as this planet. And then Leia goes on to say, parentheses.
Okay.
You see that?
I found it. Yeah, do you want me to read this, Leia?
Yeah, go for it.
And you think you're the one to apply some heat?
Sure. What's great, this is like the best part of this to me is so he has this little description of, he takes a step and blah, blah, blah. They have their little confrontation and she's surprised but excited that he grabs her or whatever. And then the only thing that could come between them now would be an unexpected Wampa arm. So this is in that stage where they had that whole scene still in the movie. So it's just a funnily written piece of narration there. But anyway, that was a Leia Hoth one I've kind of been keeping in my back pocket for a while.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely, I just assumed kiss a Wookiee, which first of all, you gotta imagine that Wookiees are vigorous lovers, right? You could do worse. I just assumed kiss a Dianoga. That's something gross. But a Wookiee, strong, tall, old and wise.
A little furry, but,
Okay, a little furry, but
what,
out of all the aliens, I just assumed kiss one of those cantina alien dudes.
Right, or a hut, right?
Yeah. Really, you could do a lot worse than a Wookiee.
Yeah.
I think maybe they just did that because they figured that people didn't know the names of the other planets. They couldn't be I just assumed kiss a Duros and leaving. But that's not true, because
See, just wait for the 2016 release that George tries to put out.
Right.
It'll have some just to give context. Oh man! Just another side note: the image. This comes from an online exhibit of the place I used to work, and there's more pages like this. If you go to the Writers Guild Foundation's website, there's some awesome stuff in there. So I got to give them a plug as the source.
Steve, www.
WGFoundation.org.
WGFoundation.org.
Yeah.
That's I am curious. I'm getting ready for episode 7, and I'm ramping up my hatred of Harrison Ford.
I know. See, I figured you have to now, because...
But, that being said, there is one thing that I think Harrison Ford does better than most people, which is deliver, just one-word responses. Which I think is, what makes Kiefer Sutherland so good on 24, is he can say in 37 different modalities. So I'm curious to see, with Leia saying, and you think you're the one who can apply some heat, and having Han say sure. I do wonder how would Harrison Ford read sure. Would he go sure or sure?
Something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that. Wow, see, that's great. I'm glad I didn't read it ahead of time.
Yeah. You got the context, so there you go.
I got the context. So this is going to be interesting, this call, Steve. Because
it's multi-pronged.
There's a lot of things. We got to call Joker Savage, who I still think is just an alias of the Joker. You just Joker Savage? Okay. And then, so we've never called him before, so I don't have his phone number either. Did he ever send you his phone number?
I haven't seen it yet. We had emailed him a little while ago to see if... Okay. Oh, well, that's Ron.
Okay. We got to call Ron, and Ron's always good. Except he apparently likes to fall asleep before and immediately after the show, so he may get a bit sleepy time on. Even though he always brings arguably the best content on the show.
Oh yeah, he naps just at the right time, wakes up, delivers, and goes right back to sleep mode.
And then we're going to be talking to Matthias, who's apparently it's going to be 3 o'clock in the morning. He's saying he's going to be absolutely fantastic. We'll see. If he doesn't make it, I'll just impersonate him for the rest of the show.
I think you could swing that if it comes to it.
All right, so that was a good little warm up. I do think it's a little bit got a little bit of fire under us, so it's good.
Yeah.
And I will give them a call then.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so. Oh, Digby.
I'm apologizing in advance. He's been a real shit lately, so we'll see what we can do. We've got 2 walls and a gate now blocking me from Digby's.
Well, see, usually I am still recording. I may actually just leave that in and bleep it out. People don't believe you can get angry, but now they'll know.
Oh man, if you ever see me, it's like Homer Simpson and Bart. That's my sometimes relationship with Digby.
You physically abuse your dog? Wow, Steve, your popularity ratings are going way down right now. Like the little dials they have when you watch TV. Like, ooh, I don't like this character at all.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to call them.
Take a seat at the board with the Space Chess Roundtable here on the Vintage Pod.
It is a silly place.
I see your point, sir.
Available. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Joe, this is the Kivecast. We're going to talk about Leia Hoth, but give us a call back. Or just let us know you're there. Okay. Wait, how do I hang up on just him? I'm going to hang up on just him. Okay, how's it going, Ron?
All right, how are you?
Pretty good. Let's see, Matthias didn't wake up, and I don't know where Joe is.
Matthias didn't wake up. See, I knew I shouldn't have told him to get drunk before coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
he's probably on the Ugla train.
Yeah, Ugla train! I did say if he doesn't come on, I'll just do a full-on Matthias impersonation the whole time.
You could probably pull it off. I can imagine that.
It's not hard.
You're starting to get into a little bit Bane territory.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard not to do that. Well, I guess, I got Ron on here. I think I'm actually still recording, even though I meant to have a less official hello to Ron. But hello to Ron.
Hello, guys. What's up?
We're happy to have you. Our table's not really round. It's kind of a triangle right now.
That's all right. I mean, we can make do with what we've got until the other guys figure it out, I guess, or don't figure it out.
Exactly. It's a pointy table. I wanted to start Ron and Steve, and I wanted to have Matthias on here too, just as a general point in my disappointment with Star Wars media. Are you guys ready?
Okay.
Have you noticed the way people have been talking about the casting for Episode 7? Every single time I've heard anyone talk about Max von Sydow, they go, "Oh, yeah, he was in Flash Gordon and a James Bond movie. Yeah, that's cool. He's like Alec Guinness."
Yeah, forgetting about all the Bergman stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's like.
I think he's actually on the Swedish flag, so that's probably something that Tia should comment on.
I mean, the he's in some of the most important, definitely the most important movies in Swedish history. We'll talk about that if Matthias ever wakes up.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny that, we just can't get out of this mindset. Like, Flash Gordon, that's what we should remember him for.
Yeah, well, Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Pretty much familiar with mainstream American stuff. So, and he's been in some mainstream movies, so I guess that's what they remember him for.
But then my disappointment goes even further, because out of all the dumb movies that he's made that weren't made by Ingmar Bergman, he was in Strange Brew. I haven't heard anyone mention that.
You got to be the first.
Well, thank you, because it also features my favorite early Star Wars reference in another movie, which we've already referenced on this show. Which is, the power of the Force compels you, you knob.
Rosie. Are you okay? Are you okay, Rosie? I am your father, Luke. Give in to the dark side of the Force, you nap.
He saw Jedi 17 times, eh? Beauty.
Power of the Force, stock you hosers.
They get dressed up.
Yes, he was indeed in that.
Yeah, you guys have seen Strange Brew, right?
No.
Yeah. Steve, you've seen it, right?
No, I haven't, man. I need to see it.
Dude,
I've seen it, but it was a long time ago.
Oh, that was in constant rotation.
It's kind of funny that, what's her name? Pernilla Auguste wasn't that her name?
Yeah.
Anakin's mother was in episode 1. She was a Bergman alum, and now you have Max von Sydow.
Right.
I don't know why we keep getting these art house Swedish actors in Star Wars, but I guess why not?
And that's the other thing I haven't heard anyone else mention is that connection. They just say that he's like Peter Cushing, which is no. I mean, yeah, he's old, but Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee are great B actors, right? I mean, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely movie-wise. I'm not sure what the stage history, if any of those guys is, but I mean, they're definitely known for those Hammer horror films. But I guess because like they have British accents, like Americans think that they're like Shakespearean actors,
right?
And, like, you know, Dracula and what's his name, Van Helsing,
right? Yeah, it would be like if I don't know, like Jeff Fahey and like Steve Guttenberg were like 80. Everyone's like, oh man, it's the same thing as Anthony Hopkins, just the same thing. Anyway, yeah, I just made a Jeff Fahey reference. That is the deepest film reference. Wow, we are really.
You're supposed to be the guy who's all excited for episode whatever the hell it is. Episode 7? Is that what it is?
I am. No, actually, they're calling it Episode Anaheim. It's very confusing.
Episode Anaheim?
Sorry, that's the best joke I've ever... I just came up with that. Because they're not calling it Celebration 7, they're calling it Celebration Anaheim.
Oh.
So I think we should call Episode 7 Episode Anaheim. Steve, are you down?
All right, man.
We could roll with that.
I think it's actually on the principles of metonymy. Okay, well, that was a great show, guys. See you back for 53. Yeah, well, let's see. I guess
we can kind of shuffle the order a bit and see if we can get these guys back in.
Yeah,
the news or whatever, or I don't know.
That sounds good.
You got a lot of interesting notes from your New England get-together that I'm sure both of you understand because you're both there, but for me, it's just kind of like I'm piecing it together in my mind is what I think it might mean, but...
Plus, Skye visited me, too, since the last time, so I've seen Skye 2 times.
Yeah.
Very amazing.
That's pretty wicked. Well, yeah, let's talk about the New England get-together. So, Ron, you went to that as well, yeah?
Yeah, I was there. I was definitely there. Although I got stuck in some major traffic on the way, which was very frustrating, but I made it eventually.
And so this is a meeting at Micro Rob's house. I don't know if he actually has if Micro is his first name. Do you know what's funny?
Yeah, I knew him before he was called Micro Rob, so it's Rob Amentea.
Okay, so that's how you know.
I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but Amentea, I guess, is...
You know, we could have done a really sweet custom with the manatee thing. We could have made it like a micro box with Rob Amentea.
That might be a little bit obscure, but you like the obscure stuff, so why not?
Whenever you guys hear, you know, there's that TV guy who did Dirty Jobs or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and his name is Mike Rowe. And I always think of Micro Rob whenever I think of Micro.
Micro Rob is definitely, he's earned the nickname because he has quite an impressive micro collection. It was pretty awesome. I hadn't been to his house in a while.
Yeah.
And I've known him forever. But I haven't been to his house in a while, and it was cool to see some of the stuff he's gotten that I didn't know about.
Now, when's the last time you went there, Ron?
Oh, jeez. I bet it's like 8 years ago. A while.
Wow. So that was for like a similar kind of event?
Probably. I mean, we used to have kind of a... He's been good at keeping up with, like, New England collectors, whatever he calls it. And we started that, like, years ago in the 90s, and I just kind of became a bum and stopped going for the most part. Well, I mean, it kind of stopped in general, and then no one was going, but then it's like it's in the last couple of years he's picked it up again. But I hadn't been to one since this time.
Right.
So...
Well, I mean, the cool thing was that we recorded it. We recorded last show 1 week before it, you know, and we released it. And the cool thing was, like, in the show we said, hey, do it. You know, come out to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of an open event, and everyone grumbles about feeling left out. No one has to be left out. And there was, like, a couple people who came up and said, hey, we went there because of the show. Did you know that, Steve?
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There was actually a couple people who were like, hey, I've heard your name on the podcast.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, I've been on the podcast.
Yeah, I think it was Mike. Not Mike Ritter, although Mike Ritter did show up, of course. There was more than 2 Star Wars people in the same room. But he was sort of there, and he was talking, and I think he was the same guy. I wound up finally getting to talk to someone about the Smiths. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, there was a few cool people I met there who I wouldn't mind hanging out with again, but I'm like so bad with names that I've already forgotten the names. It's just like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So, but if those guys are listening, it was definitely cool to meet them, and hopefully again sometime get together. You know, I know at least 1 or 2 of them I mentioned that they should give me a ring if they're ever in the area.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, Steve, that I finally got to meet the famous Adam, who's in our hockey and now baseball league.
Oh yeah.
Yep, and you know he's just a really nice guy, and he's like from Dorchester, which is, you know, I used to have tabla lessons in Dorchester. I used to play tabla. So that was cool. You know, like that's what I love about those events. I don't know if you feel similar, but like, yeah, we talked about Star Wars, but I wound up talking about the Smiths. I wound up talking about the Bruins losing in the hockey thing. I wound up talking to Ron about movies. Like,
yeah.
You know,
it definitely kind of like spreads out in a totally different. You know, it's not Star Wars is just a fraction of what ends up being talked about most of the time.
Right, and then that's how you sort of know people. You sort of know them through that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the social aspect of the hobbies, you know, everyone always says it, but it's worth repeating. You know, that's one of the best things about it, you know, to meet people and hang out and, you know, make friends and stuff like that. You know, even though no one really bought or sold anything that I saw, people were still having a good time.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I see the picture, you know, we'll put a picture up of everybody there. And it's just a good example of the kind of thing we can just all get together and do. I sort of had this list of notes that Steve is making reference to. So I stayed with friend of the show and friend of mine, Tom Quinn, who you met, Ron. He was one of those guys whose names you've forgotten, but you'd like to hang out with again. And he was like, I stayed at his house, and I just had a lot of Star Wars thoughts there. And then I went to Rob's house and had a lot of Star Wars thoughts there. So I just got tons of Star Wars thoughts. And the good thing is I have a podcast, so everyone has to listen to me.
Yep.
So let's see. Well, what are some of them?
Well, the first one is the steamed hamburgers. So I'm assuming that's what you ate.
Yeah, apparently the town that Mike Rob is from is famous for eating steamed hamburgers.
Okay.
Which is particularly great if you love The Simpsons, and there's a whole line where steamed hams. It's a whole thing. I'll try to put that in.
Yes. Steamed clams.
You call hamburgers steamed hams.
Yes.
You call hamburgers steamed ham.
That's what I call hamburgers.
I thought we were having steamed clams.
That's what I call hamburgers.
You call hamburgers steamed hams.
Yes.
And you call them steamed hams despite the fact they are obviously grilled. Seymour!
And the show sound. And we all got together and ate those. And that was at the end of the whole meeting. And, you know, that was it was about looking at unproduced micro sculpts and stuff like that. But it was also about eating steamed hamburgers with friends.
Right.
Yeah. That's always a plus. Steamed hamburgers on top of anything really is, you know, a bonus.
And then he's cool because he's actually a little bit like Ron in that way too, where he has a lot of, I guess a little bit more like Chris Georgoulias, a lot of paperwork about the past, like about past auctions, about where things were sold, where things were bought. Do you have a lot of things like that, Ron? Do you save like a lot of old auctions?
Stuff like you're talking about, I mean, some, but not anything like Chris has. Chris definitely has always, you know, gone out of his way to save all that stuff.
Right.
Which is great because, I mean, who else would have? What would be your source of that if you didn't have someone like that saving it? I mean, one of the first things. I mean, when I first started to know Chris, like I think I was probably the first person he ever sent copies of his toy shop Bible to, which he made at like work, and it was just like awesome. And I was like, holy cow, I can't believe you saved all these things, you know. And I still have them, all these photocopies he mailed me. I think I still have the folder he sent them in and everything. So.
Well, it was cool because Rob had just some stuff from Toy Shop too. I hadn't seen the auction for the Star Tots, or I hadn't noticed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that it was there. But with the minimum bid of $1,000 each, I thought that was pretty cool.
You're talking about the wax ones in Toy Shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. I remember that ad well, a legendary ad.
And now, do you remember actually seeing it when it came out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, speaking of Micro Rob, I think maybe one of the first things we ever talked about was when, you know, I can't remember how I first met Rob, but he called me or I called him, and this is in the 90s, and I don't even think he was really online at that time, and we were talking about micro stuff, and he was probably the first guy I ever met who was into micro stuff, and that ad, in addition to the Star Tot stuff, has a bunch of micro sculpts, and, you know, he was just all talking about, oh, man, it blew my mind, all these sculpts in there, and, you know, wasn't around at that point or didn't have the cash or something, so he hadn't won any of them, but he was kind of interested in hunting them down.
Wow.
And, so that's just ties into the whole Micro Rob thing. It's one of the first things we ever spoke about. But yeah, I definitely remember seeing that ad and being like, at that point, I wasn't in the market for anything like that because the prices for that time were huge. I mean, now it doesn't seem like that much, but back then, none of those things sold, by the way, not a single one.
Really? So then there was like because we're on Leia Hoth, there was a Leia Hoth micro mold that, sculpt that was 1.5K was the minimum bid. So you're saying
the Leia Hoth one?
Yeah, didn't even go for that?
What was that?
There was no bids on it?
No, none of the stuff in that auction, I think, got even the minimum bid. Some stuff was sold outside the auction afterwards, but none of the stuff in that auction actually sold at the prices listed. Like, I ended up with the Leia Hoth down the road.
Right.
And actually, this story I prepared for this talk show, this podcast.
I like the talk show.
I did too. It felt very retro.
Coincidentally, before I even knew you guys were going to talk about that ad, ties into the whole ad and the Leia Hoth thing. So I thought that was kind of funny when I looked through your show notes. I was like, oh man, this ties into the story. But yeah, I ended up with that Leia Hoth, but it did not sell in the auction.
Okay, well then we're going to tease that for story time later.
Yeah, there you go.
And then, Steve has been working like a demon, working on the next archive party. He's actually kind of taken the lead at Celebration Anaheim of Los Angeles.
It's a lot of moving parts, but we're getting there, I think.
Yeah, he's like, so just so you know, we're probably going to be shooting for the Thursday of the party, right?
Right. That's the target date.
So I don't care if George Lucas is coming to your hotel room to play Tiddlywinks with you. You got to go to the archive party because it's going to be almost as good as the first one.
Yeah, sequels are a tough thing to pull off.
And I can say that we had a Target game last year, right? What did we use for the Target last time?
It was one of the fake rocket fets, or repro rocket fet, wasn't it?
It was a repro rocket fet. Well, I think we're going to do another Target game, but I think we're going to use instead the Rebel Rocket.
Now this sounds, potentially disturbing.
Yeah.
What is the story with these things, man? Because I saw it on a blog. I think it was the Rancho Obi-Wan blog, too, that Gus talked about it. But yeah, what is the story with these things?
Okay, first of all, had you heard of a Rebel Rocket until a week ago, Steve?
No.
Okay,
no.
I hadn't. Is our trademark stupidity, Ron, that we've never heard of the Rebel Rocket?
Yeah, I would say that since you guys are such giant figures in the vintage community,
right,
they should probably have at least heard of the Rebel Rocket.
Okay.
But it's not as bad as not knowing about the stamp collecting kit or something like that.
Right, okay.
Which I remember vividly you guys had never heard of when you talked about it.
It's a common problem.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of myself as a teacher, Ron, but I like to think I learn as much as I teach. you know.
Trademark is stupid.
I'm a lifelong learner. Lifelong.
You're getting there.
Yeah. Well, it turns out there's a lot to learn in this damn hobby. Jeez. There was a giveaway with Kellogg's, and I think it was probably just with C-3POs.
Yeah.
But in the event that God listens to this podcast, he can correct us. I don't mean...
Yeah, it was C-3POs.
Right. And it came in the box. So, like, back in the day, you used to get toys in boxes of cereal. It wasn't this, send away.
You used the word toy pretty liberally there. It's somewhat similar to a toy.
Nay! I may not have known about it, but I fell in love with it. So what it is it looks like a tampon applicator. Mixed with a heroin syringe. Or, I guess it could be any kind of syringe. It's essentially 2 cylindrical pieces of white plastic that fit into each other, and it's a pressure thing. So you push the end of one into the other, and it creates enough pressure that it pops. And you can put little decals on it, like these cool decals of Chewie and Han, and like it says their names. And the thing about the Rebel rocket is it is awesome. The pop that it makes is outstanding. I'm very lucky. Rob, first of all, was just a great host. Second of all, he was just very generous. He got me this cool Chewie family portrait thing. I'll have to. I stuck in a box somewhere since I came back, but I'll show it in a future episode. But he knows my predilection for playing with stuff, so he let me open up a brand new bag of a Rebel rocket and play with it. So I took pictures. I pretended to shoot at my arm,
Skye.
Yeah.
There are people out there who are looking for mint-sealed Rebel rockets, and you probably just took that one off the market. Not sure that really jives with the whole anti-uncirculated grade thing.
I know. Not only did I not know it existed, but now I've destroyed it.
I know, you did.
But I'm going to save that Rebel rocket, and the thing is, that thing could really put your eye out. I mean, it gets a lot of force, so I think the Rebel rocket, we'll have like a Rebel rocket rad game.
We'll work on the title, but concept is good, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, you were saying it was only something that came with the 3POs, and you're right, and I was just looking at the blog by Gus, and I guess it was repurposed in 87, or somewhere in the late 80s, as a Lucky Charms promo, as Lucky's Magic Rocket, which they also, that thing's just not okay.
Yeah. Kids, would you like to see Lucky's Magic Rocket? Welcome to Goo!
I don't know, man.
What's
I don't think I got away with that
rainbow?
The rocket thing kind of fits with the Star Wars theme, but I'm not sure it fits with the little leprechaun thing.
No.
Especially, Lucky's, you don't. Way to go, Steve, Honestly. That's awesome. So that will be, I think, a pretty fun feature. We also ate some gum from Raiders of the Lost Ark. No.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. Temple of Doom bubblegum cards.
Did it not just disintegrate when you opened it?
Yeah, when you eat it, it doesn't form. I wound up spitting it into the toilet and then scaring the hell out of the next person that used it. Someone needs to see a doctor!
I mean, the trading card gum is already probably at least 120 years old when it's new. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe it gets better with time. Maybe it softens up a bit.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Wishful thinking, but
man. And then I thought it'd be fun too to this is a general call out. Okay, so some of us are lucky enough to own a cromolin, right? So cromolins are. If Matthias was here, I'd ask him to explain it. It's a fantastic stage of figure production. But hey man, that's what he gets for not showing up. It's only 4:30 in the morning in Sweden. What else is he doing? So the cool thing about cromolins is, unlike proofs, they're often changed, and there's handwritten changes, and it's one of the best things. I I don't know. I don't get the sense people talk about those handwritten changes. They just say changes, but not how they changed.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be a fun thing. What's your favorite Cromulin markup?
Jeez, I don't know if I have one off the top of my head.
No?
That's going to take some digging, I think.
Okay,
but,
well, I'll leave that as an open topic. I'll tell you my favorite one that I saw over the weekend, which was on the Death Star compactor micro. Obi-Wan Kenobi did not have a hyphen in between his name, and so it just says, hyphen. And then what's great is you can just look at the actual. You can look at the Cromulin, and then look at the actual piece, and then you see. Oh, there it is. Like, if it weren't for that, there would be no hyphen in there, and we'd talk about, oh man, this is the one where they messed up and they didn't put the hyphen in. So, I don't know. I just think that's cool.
That's definitely one of the fun things about, that stage of packaging prototype is that you do get those hand-marked changes on a lot of them. I would say, well, maybe not most of them, but a good proportion have stuff like that on there, which makes it a little bit cooler.
At least something. It may not always be major, but it's there, so you know that they're looking at it pretty closely.
And one of my favorites is it actually says hyphen in black pen with a question mark, and then in a red pen, yes.
Response, yeah.
It's almost like this passive-aggressive, like, yeah, of course, it's not Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know, my Emperor Cromulin has Lucas written across the top, and I've always... I guess that's probably because it was, sent to Lucasfilm, and that's why they did it. But it's... I think I've maybe seen other Cromulins that say Lucas on them, but I can't really think of what they are. So it's pretty cool to have...
It just says Lucas on the top of it?
Yeah, it's on the archive.
Interesting.
It doesn't say it belongs to me. It was like 18 owners ago that it was put on the archive. But yeah, it says Lucas on the top. I'll let you... If you look up Emperor Cromulin...
What logo is it?
It is a Return of the Jedi Emperor Cromulin.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so you can look it up. It's... it says it belongs to the guy who I bought it from. That's the proof that I bought, and I waited 2 months, and I saved like $800 because the pound went down against the dollar. I was like, I'm an international trader! So at the top it says 620.
How many Cromulins for Obi-Wan Kenobi are on the archive?
No, it's an Emperor Cromulin.
Oh, an Emperor, sorry.
Yeah.
If you just search Emperor Cromulin SWCA,
I thought you meant it was a Kenobi with an Emperor offer. So
No. But it has a date, so I guess it just must be the date it was approved. So it says 6/20 Lucas.
That probably means that, Lucas okayed it. I'm still can't find. Oh, I see. Here you go. Yeah, I would guess that means that Lucas okayed it on, June 20th, which is pretty cool. Yeah, stuff like that is neat. It just gives you a little bit of feel for what things were used for and the history of them.
Yeah, so those of you who have Cromulins, take a look. Tell us, what is your favorite Cromulin markup? It'll be another feature that we'll do like twice and then never remember again, Steve. What do you think?
Add it to the archive, man. we got a list of those.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people listen to our shows and then go back. I always feel like we should give people like homework. It's like, hey, if this is your first episode and you're going to go back and listen to all of them, could you count how many times Steve says "man"?
Man.
Who was it? I think it was Adam who was saying that listening to the show made him say "man" more.
Oh no, man, this is not good.
And also, too, Adam was funny because he's an electrician, and so first of all, he was talking about how he basically wants to collect Ugnaughts now because he repels sometimes as an electrician, and then when we pointed out that the Ugnaught was repelling, it kind of made him sort of like an Ugnaughtish fan.
That is too good.
And then the other thing he said was that he'll be on the job site and he'll just bump the Kivecast on the job site. So I just
probably the first person to ever pick up on Ugnaught stuff because he identified with Ugnaught.
That's true.
That's got to be a first.
Especially, he's also not like. I mean, if he looked like Danny DeVito, that might be different. But he looks like a normal human being.
Or if he was a chef or something, and he had like a smock, that he wore, a
Right.
bib and around the kitchen. He's like, I really identify with the Ugnaught in his kitchen outfit.
Yeah. So, anyways, and you guys want to make custom Boston Bruins jerseys with Ugnaughts on them? I can give you his address to send it to him. But yeah, and then I guess other things that I feel like I should know but didn't really think about was that they didn't have enough Emperor figures to send out. I don't know. I guess.
Wow.
Are you saying wow that I didn't know that, or wow
No.
that's true?
It just seems like they're so super, like everywhere. That's just funny.
You saw that at Rob's house, you mean?
Yeah, the little slit.
Yeah.
So do you remember that, Ron?
I don't remember it from the day, but I remember seeing that piece of paperwork that, basically the idea is that they didn't have the Emperors on hand for the Emperor mail away, and so to compensate kids, they still got the Emperor eventually, but as a sorry we're late with this, they sent them one of the Build Your Armies micro sets.
Huh.
And there's like a little note that says, we're sorry, with the Emperor's late.
Actually, Ron,
here's some crummy micro figures.
It says, Dear Star Caps Lock Wars fan, due to the overwhelming response to the Free the Emperor promotion, there's been a delay in sending your figure. We are very sorry for any disappointment or inconvenience we may have caused you. Please accept this additional Star Wars gift as a token of our appreciation for your patience. Sincerely, Kenner Products. So that's what it actually said. I love the inconvenience. Like there's someone sitting there with the shuttle or something. It's just like, okay.
They really did care.
Here comes the mail. Oh, this is so inconvenient. I have to use the little Hoth soldiers.
Do you think if kid, and would you be more upset that the Emperor was late, or would you be happy because you got some free micro figures? Like, what would be your reaction?
Oh, I'd be over the moon. I'd be so happy.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be like, Johnny down the street got his Emperor and I got these crummy micro figures.
Not if I eventually... No, up until I got the Emperor, I would be cursing everything. I'd be like, I'm done with Star Wars. I hate this. I hate this.
Yeah, there you go.
And then when it came, I'd be like, hey, Jonathan, look, I got an extra figures.
So you would have done like the mini Skye rant like you did last week. It would be like the junior Skye version of the rant you did last month about the UK guys busting on you.
Yeah. Lots of talk about that, Steve, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Is this the news section?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a free section.
We stopped saying loosey goosey, Ron. We now say Gargan Largan. So it's kind of a Gargan Largan episode.
Okay.
It actually usually goes well when we have these episodes. They're a little bit looser. People tend to enjoy it. Or
I have some news items.
Oh my God.
Oh. All right.
But
in that case, I'll shut up about.
I just don't know when the news is. I thought did we roll past it already, or are we still in that?
Well, we kind of jumped around, so we're good.
Okay, here it is. And now down on the. Let's throw to Ron Salvatore, who's down to locker room with the visiting Bears. Ron.
Are you guys aware? Since I don't know how aware people are of this yet, but Chris Gergulius and Sharon Williams, his girlfriend of the last few years, got married just a couple of days ago.
Really?
And in a surprise announcement, well, it wasn't quite widely announced, and you guys have to keep quiet about it for the time being, but I figure your show's not going to be aired for a while yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's streaming live. But no, just kidding.
By the time you air the show, I'm sure people will know. But yeah, so they got married and in Arizona, and so kind of a happy occasion for friends of Chris and Sharon, and since he's a kind of figure on your podcast, I figured we should probably mention that.
That's
as well
awesome.
As one of my best friends, so definitely happy for him and Sharon. They kind of did it surreptitiously on their own and sent out a surprise card, which is kind of like a total Chris kind of card, and maybe we'll get a scan of the card for the show notes or something. But yeah, so that's kind of a big piece of Star Wars news, I'd say.
Wow, congratulations. Well, Ron, my divorce was finalized, which is the big news on my end. And it's funny because it's not actually like a sad, like it's a happy thing for me. And like, I think these pieces of information go well. Like, good love is thriving and bad love is withering. Oh, Jesus, that's depressing.
Yeah, kind of, you're going in opposite directions there, but I mean, I'm going in neither. So, that's the way it is, but yeah, that's a pretty cool piece of news.
That's awesome. Well, big congratulations to
congrats, Chris.
Sharon. And
Sharon.
Do we know, did she take Jorgulius as a last name?
The card says, with love from Mr. and Mrs. Jorgulius, so I think so.
There's another. There is another. No, there is another. How do I say this? Come on, you get it right? Like the scene in Yoda where he says there's another Skywalker, but he can't pronounce Jorgulius. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to get married to Chris Jorgulius, you might as well go whole hog and accept the name.
Absolutely.
I mean, no other way to go, man.
I'm sorry, I'm just disappointed that my comedic vision didn't come across. Do you see my comedic vision, Steve?
I was following you there.
There is another Gardra. Okay, fine. It's not as funny as I think. So what other news do you have? Did Tommy Garvey give birth to triplets?
No triplets yet, as far as I know. But
and what would he name them? They'd be like Zelda, Sneaker, and Kia.
Okay,
fine.
I can't. I couldn't hear what you said, but that's okay.
I tried to imagine what would Tommy name his triplets. And I came up with Zelda, Sneaker, and Kia.
That's probably a good bet. I wouldn't be surprised. Get them all like special Converse to wear in the waiting room.
All right, I'm getting silly, and we haven't even gotten halfway through Ron's news. You know what it is? It's Matthias is like contagious. I feel drunk.
Yeah, you spent all day thinking Matthias was going to be on, and now you're all geared up, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's sleeping or whatever he's doing.
Yep.
Raiding small villages with the other Vikings over there in Sweden.
All right, so what else is in Ron news?
Just archive updates. There's been a few.
Oh, cool. Tell us about them.
The last time. There's 2 new Ross Cuddy pieces of paperwork that I added. One concerning the Gaffi Stick. It's another change notice. I don't know if you guys saw that at all.
No.
Remember last month we talked about the Jawa?
Yeah, right. Which was just amazing.
Yeah, well, this one concerns the color of the Gaffi Stick, or whatever the heck it's called. Gaffi Stick. Apparently the original color was blue, and it was changed to brown, which is kind of curious. And you can read the description there, but I think the reason is because Lucasfilm probably thought it was mostly made of like metal, and so it was supposed to be like the guns, like the blue representing like a steel kind of color.
Right.
And then later on, it was changed to brown. So that's kind of cool. I'd never heard or even thought about that before.
Yeah, why do you think it was made in brown?
Well, I think at some point, Lucasfilm or someone said, "Hey, this thing is actually mostly wood." And so they changed it to brown. It's only like the ends and a couple of portions that are steel.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny. I don't really have an image of what I only have the image of the toy in my head. I don't have the image of an actual Gaddafi stick.
Yeah, I mean, I had to, when I was writing this, I had to look up a picture of what it looked like. But there's steel portions and wood portions, basically.
Right. I grew in my town. There's a family called the Legerfos, which I thought was the coolest name in the world. Now it's like Gaddafi and Legerfo. They just go all together. That actually brings up a Skye thought. Are you guys ready for that?
Go for it.
So, I've been thinking about the Mexican Lily Lady 12-inch figures.
Okay.
And we've talked about them before, and there's 4 of them, right? You got There could be more. So you got Vader, right? You got Luke. All right, you got who else? Droids. Yeah,
Han.
you got the droids. You got Han. You got pretty standard figures. But then who's the one you don't expect?
The Tusken or the Jawa, I guess, right?
The Tusken or the Jawa. Of course, you're going to sell Tusken Raiders and Jawas to Mexicans. They live in the desert.
I mean, you were like the politically correct guy and everything.
No! I mean, what's politically incorrect about saying Mexicans live in the desert? It's the desert. I mean, if it was Arizona, I wouldn't be politically incorrect. It's, it just
Whatever you say, Skye.
It just makes sense. It would be like if they made a 12-inch Wampa for, Canadians. Like, it just makes sense. Right?
First you start making, jokes about Mexicans, and the next thing you know, you're Hitler.
Thank you.
I guess I can see that.
Like, don't you think that explains the bizarre choice of Tusken and Lady? That maybe they are figures that were more popular to play with because there was more environments to actually play with them. Because if you're a kid growing up in Minnesota or you're a kid growing up in Santa Barbara, you're not going to have an actual desert to play with. But if you live in a dry, hot country, then the Tatooine figures must be more relatable.
I buy it.
I get that, and what I do seem a little bit confused is there's a note about Richard Dreyfuss along with this. What's the Richard Dreyfuss connection?
Oh, that's the other. Okay, all right. That's a different part. That was just to jog my memory.
Okay, I got it.
So that was Sky point number one, and I could be wrong, but hey, if you're a Mexican, first of all, there's nothing wrong with saying the word Mexican, right? That's just like a country. So if you are from Mexico, did you play more with the Tatooine figures because it resembled more the area that you were near, right? So that's a question. The next thing was just realizing that Jawas might have been a play on words with Jaws. I just hadn't thought of that before. You ever thought of that?
There was, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I think in one of Steve Sansweet's books, probably from Concept of Screen to Collectibles, I think Universal considered suing Fox over the Jawa name because it was too close to Jaws.
Wow. Well, then there you go.
Which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, I believe that's accurate. I believe my memory's right on that, which is kind of funny. But I guess it sort of makes sense if you had, like, the huge blockbuster in 75 and you want to market Jaws products, and then along comes Fox a couple of years later with their own huge blockbuster, and it has Jawas.
Right.
Maybe there's some kind of overlap there, but I don't think it anywhere.
Like, people love whenever Lucas does, whenever, Spielberg does the R2-D2 in the pyramid, or there's the Club Obi-Wan, or whatever. There's all these references to Lucas in, I guess he co-wrote them, but still, they're Spielberg films with references to Lucas.
Right.
Maybe this was just a fun way of making reference to Spielberg because they were friends. I don't know. I just hadn't thought of that before.
Yeah, I never heard that, but, the names are kind of close. I mean, especially if you say Jawa's really fast.
Yeah, but could you think of anything more different than a Jawa and that giant shark? It's just
right. Well, can you think of anything more different than Obi-Wan Kenobi in a nightclub?
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's just funny.
Actually, that's not true, because he, goes into the club in the movie, and then he goes into the club in the other movie. Okay, in an airplane. Could there be anything different than Obi-Wan in an airplane? Okay. And when would you ever see R2-D2 and C-3PO in the desert? Okay. Well, oh my God. You know what, Ron? You were even there for the biggest realization that I made that may have to wait for another month. The realization about the connection between THX 1138 and the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Oh, no, I'm not aware of any connection.
Okay. Well, I may have to save that for another day.
Yeah, that sounds like a saga unto
if
itself.
I am apparently accused of being politically incorrect with my observation, you better move on. So, Steve, what other stories do you have from the news?
Well, one we kind of touched on already with the whole Rebel Rocket thing, kind of leads into this, but there's a new blog on the Rad Show Obi-Wan site where a few different people post. Gus is one of them, Steve's one, obviously, I think Pete Vilmer. It's cool little nuggets of information that we don't have to go through, but just a heads up to check it out, because, I mean, there's this whole thing, he goes into the whole thing about the rockets. He also talks about something which I thought was awesome. Maybe it was a couple months ago. There was that 12-inch Luke that they used in the pre-production of Return of the Jedi that I recognized watching in that documentary, and they have just write-ups on stuff like that. That's fun, but it's just another thing to check out.
I think it's basically filling the hole that used to exist on StarWars.com, where guys like Pete Vilmer, Gus Lopez, and Steve Sansweet would write articles. Now it's mostly like March Madness. Who's the most popular Star Wars character? Oh, it's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's awesome to see that some of those guys, Gus and Pete in particular, and Steve himself have picked up some of the slack with that. Because it does. I mean, I guess Rancho Obi-Wan's not exactly an official source, but it seems quasi-official, and coming from those guys, it definitely seems like we have a vintage collecting voice out there coming from a semi-official source on a blog, and the stuff they've been doing is really cool, so it's awesome to see that.
Yeah. Now, what's the next update you want to school us on there, HG?
Let's see, what else did I add? There's a Han Solo 12-back quality control sample carded figure, which is something I own, which I added because I was talking to someone about it, and I don't know, to me, there's not that much to say about it other than it is what it is.
Wait a minute.
If you're interested in that, you can see that there. Obviously, it'd be one of the
You've been talking
earliest.
to someone about it. I've been trying to get you to take pictures and put up your QC stuff for years. It's not me you were talking to?
Actually, when I got this, what did you say? I'm sorry, I missed the question you asked.
Oh, I've been trying to get you to post your QC stuff and talk about it for years.
Yeah, well, just folks like you, I guess, finally convinced me that I should, especially since this one is a 12-back and there's not that many out there.
Right.
It's awesome.
I mean, there's some out there, but, it's not like there's tons.
What's cool is they wrote their comments in the price box. It only exists on 12-backs.
Yeah, it's just the guy's name and the date, which is March of, 78, which kind of gives you a date of when, the first carded figures were coming off the line, which is interesting. Actually, when I got it, the reason I got it was because I didn't have a small head Han on card. And it was I thought of actually erasing that name off there because I was I don't want writing on my card. It's in pencil, you know? So it's shows you how attitudes change. Because I really didn't think that much of the signed samples that are just written on there when we got them, but obviously now, with the way things are going with this stuff, it's probably got some good value there. But anyway, that's on there. What else? Oh, another Ross Cuddy piece of paperwork. I told you I'd be leaking this stuff out here and there for a while. This one is pretty interesting. No one's commented on it, of course, since I posted it a little while back. But
okay, wait, just 1 second now, Ron. So last time you were on, I made the joke that the archive is like a web version of our podcast. And,
yes, you did indeed.
And you acted like you didn't get the joke. It turns out you got it and you didn't think it was funny. So just...
I got it.
It just wasn't funny. That's fine. But the one thing I will say is that I think the combination of posting on Rebel Scum and coming on here will get it closer to people starting to pay as much attention as they should. Because, as an example, that change on the vinyl cape Jawa, or the change to having a cape at all, that is absolutely, for our hobby, mind-blowing information. That's world-changing information, and it's another way to get it out, another way to get it shared. So I think, Ron, you should just consider that whenever you do an update, that's part one, and then part two is coming on here and having to deal with Steve's arrogance. Then you're all set.
Yeah, Steve's arrogance is hard to put up with, but considering it's for a good cause, we'll go along with it.
Yeah.
And Digby's arrogance, though, is a little bit. I can't take that at all.
Yeah.
You should have heard earlier on. Steve admitted to mercilessly beating his dog.
Yes.
He didn't know I was filming. He was like, I like to strangle him and scream his name.
That's exactly how I stated it.
Oh, man. Like, act out the beginning of, Star Wars when he chokes the guy in the corridor there.
That's right.
Digby.
I find your lack of
you
shut
bark
up.
while I'm on the podcast.
All right, so what is this, the next Cuddy piece?
Well, to be honest, I don't even know what to describe it as. It looks to me like it's a rough, brainstorming list of possible future products. But since it's 77, there's obviously a bunch of Star Wars stuff on there. And the interesting thing about it is that several of the items were never made. So, just to give you an idea, it lists several figures.
Wait,
Star Wars.
Maybe we should just read them one by one, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so ozone systems.
Oh, you're going to go down the whole list?
Yeah.
I don't know what ozone systems is.
Okay, I'll start, then I'll go Steve, then I'll go you. Ozone systems.
All right, so we got Star Wars. Now, what is that second word? Something game.
I think it's ramp.
Ramp. Okay, ramp game.
Margaret's Popcorn House.
78 Smash Us Derby.
Shocking Death Star game. Oh, man.
Shocking Death Star game. What's that? Okay.
Star Wars Mini Rebel Pilot.
Mini Rebel Pilot. So a minifigure of a Rebel pilot. That's awesome. Star Wars Mini Rebel Ground Support Crew.
Hey.
Another
Star
Rebel
Wars,
figure.
yeah, another Rebel figure. Mini Tarkin.
Oh, no! A mini Tarkin.
Familiar.
So they were going
Star
to make
Wars
a Tarkin.
Droid Factory.
Droid Factory to make it. And then do we need to do any of the rest of these? Okay, I'll just read the rest really quickly.
All right.
Pro Dev Optics Products, Dodo Toy Railroad, Preschool Construction System, Infant Crib Line, Pet Care Line, Buckaroos and Wheelies, Bingo Babies, Star Wars TTP, SSP Van Ramset, Steve Austin Sports Car.
It's a pretty good list.
That's a great list.
Pretty good. And obviously, several things were never made. I think the Star Wars ramp game at the top and the SSP Van Ramset are the same thing, maybe, although it says game at the top. I don't know. But the ramp kind of makes me think that those might be just a repetition there. But obviously the coolest thing is probably the figures. A Mini Rebel Pilot, I would assume, is the figure that became Luke X-Wing Pilot. Rebel Ground Support Crew obviously never made. I guess it's those guys who are scurrying around in the hangar towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Tarkin, obviously one of the most requested never made figures of all time. There you have it, mentioned there on an official list way back in 77.
Right, so August 17th, 1977, which is about 3 weeks and 2 days before my birthday.
There you go.
They almost made a Tarkin.
Well, I would be careful. I think it's more of a rough list of hey, this is the stuff we could make, but I don't think it means that there was any development that went much beyond the name you see there written there. But still, I've never seen anything dating from the 70s that indicated anything on Tarkin, so that's about the only thing.
Now, as a dude who's dealt with Kenner, do you recognize the initials and the... Because they all are assigned by somebody, so...
Yeah, I looked at that briefly. I could probably figure it out if I put some thought into it, but off the top of my head, that's not ringing a bell.
Because if I could posit something, the fact that it says by would indicate that there might actually be some actual drawings or work done. Because maybe the Star Wars ramp set is by KK, and then the Star Wars ramp game is by EW, so maybe they have competing versions of the same basic idea.
Yeah, I would guess that those are ideas proposed by those people. Whether they did supporting materials for them or not, I guess you could... it seems likely. It could be. It's just they haven't, turned up. If you watch Brian Stillman's documentary, which good plug here again for that is, there's a bunch of Kenner folks, and they talk about conceptual stuff and brainstorming sessions, coming up with different product ideas, and so that gives you an idea of some of the process that went on with these products. So I would guess that these are the folks who kind of suggested that, but we don't have obviously any evidence that there's more to it. So.
Right.
Anyway, it's just kind of one of those teaser things where you see it and it's like, oh man, that's cool, Tarkin's name, because really I've never seen that even on a list, at least from the 70s, that he's proposed in the post Power of the Force stuff. But as far as the 70s stuff goes, I've never seen anything other than this that Tarkin was considered seriously.
Now, Ron, I am a typical idiot jerk who doesn't ever look at the archive, and I am interested in the idea of the post-Power of the Force Star Wars line. Where on the internet websites can I find anything about the post-Power of the Force Kenner Star Wars designs, Ron?
If you go to the main site and go to features and then special features, there's a link in there that I believe it's Lisa Stevens and Vic Wirtz put that together years ago for us, and it's got, because they have a portfolio that relates to that proposal, and you can see all the photos there. They're old, like 1998 photos, but they're still, you can take a look at that stuff. And what it is for Tarkin, there's just like an 8x10 or 8x11 photo of him. It says Tarkin. Right. Of course, what you'd like to see is a drawing of the figure, but it's just a picture of, Peter Cushing, and it says, Grandma Tarkin, like, we could make a figure of this guy, but there's nothing other than that, so.
Right.
There you go.
Hey, how bad do you wish that your grandmother was named Tarkin? Because you could be like, oh, it's my Grandma Tarkin.
Only you would come up with something like that. You probably thought about that in the past.
No, that's the first time. It's not like my THX 1138 Star Wars Holiday Special idea.
That would be cool. That would be pretty cool, Skye. Definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. Yeah, well, the just because it is all that post 85 stuff is great, and I always associate it with you, Ron, because you do a lot of the panel talks at Star Wars Celebration. Segue coming. You do a lot of the panel talks. Segue on its way, and like you'll sometimes talk about the unproduced products at the collector panels. What's our next news story, Steve?
Well, they have announced that there will be yet again a collector stage with collector panels, and
Segue achieved.
And what comes with those panels? What's been coming lately? It's the Star Tots. So they got a couple samples that they posted up there, and they look pretty good.
Well, yeah, there you go.
They're going Empire this time. Yeah.
Just to tie it back into the Chris Dragulius meme here, but he's been the guy. He did a lot of work on those things going way back. So. Yeah,
he's the primary architect, right, of the Star Tots.
I'm sorry, I missed. He's the what?
He's sort of the architect of the Star Tot.
Yeah, I mean, right? He's kind of been, I would say, the guy who did the most work on those giveaways for the last. I mean, other people have done work as well, but I would say he's the director of those things, the giveaways, and
right.
He's always done a great job with it.
Yeah, and it's I'm really happy that they're continuing on. Like, it's. How do you feel about it, actually, about them continuing with it? I feel sort of like positive and negative, more positive than negative. But, it's like, I wonder, like, if they would have done something different, if that would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like variety, so I wouldn't mind seeing something new, but the Star Tots are a really cool product, and I think Chris and Gus and those guys were keen to do, I don't want to say all the figures, but to do more of the figures. So, I mean, you're moving into Empire, so it's kind of a good opportunity to do other parts of the line. And so, I mean, if it's a good idea, you might as well exhaust it, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
You can move on to something else and do, C-3PO's pop rockets, and no one would...
Right. Well, I mean...
going with the good stuff.
I'm much more positive than negative, because it's going to be so cool to have all of them all lined up and all connected. And sorry, I have to keep checking my email. Okay, nope, no.
Yeah, I mean, if you really like the Star Tots and you have the Star Wars ones, the first 21 or the first 20, is it? Now you can move on past that and get the other ones. I would imagine that you're pretty happy.
Yeah. And
if you don't like the Star Tots, you're not happy.
Yeah. But how do you not like the Star Tots?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, they're
tough
really
not to
cool.
like.
I mean, to me, the good thing about them is that there's a physical item, right? Like, it's basically similar to the medallions that they were giving out years ago, but it's in the shape of a figure, and there's some enameling in there. So there's a physical item, and then you also get a graphical item with the card. So it kind of hits on multiple things,
right?
And it ties into action figure collecting and unproduced toys and other stuff. So it's really kind of, I don't want to say the perfect giveaway, but it's pretty nice. So I'm not surprised that they're doing more of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So go check that out at, I don't know, everywhere. StarWarsCelebration.com, I guess.
Yeah, that would be the easiest one. Yeah.
Although, should we call it Celebration Los Angeles and Anaheim? Should we call it that? No? Okay.
Oh, man.
So Musasa on the Rebel Scum forums posted this really cool Japanese item. Maybe been thinking a lot about Japan lately. Maybe been watching a lot of old Godzilla movies with the kids. And it's like this. How do we describe this thing, guys?
It's tough to describe. I'll say that.
So it's called the Takara. It's made by Takara, and who made a lot of Star Wars toys, and they're like stencils,
right?
And so you could like draw. They have like a little black bag, and then inside them, you could like fill them in with ink or pencil, or whatever, and you'd have a little Star Wars drawing inside.
Yeah. It's funny, like, to me, when you see just all the stencils on the, like, just a line art for them, they look like something you'd see in a Star Wars Atari game, almost. Like,
right.
Just really basic line art that's it's cool, though. It's simple, but it's really neat.
Right, and it shows a lot of innovation. Like the R2-D2, you have to do sort of more than one stencil, put them together, and then that makes a full R2-D2 design. And, these are really neat. There's also like erasers that came with it as well, which features at least an image I've never seen of C-3PO where he's kind of got bad posture. Like, normally C-3PO is known for his stick up the butt good posture.
It looks like he's hurling or something like that.
Yeah. This is just another good example of the kind of thing where let's see how many responses it got. Oh, actually got a fair amount of response. But really,
the thing I like about it is the box. Like, I've seen plenty of those little eraser things, and I had them and got rid of them and whatnot here and there. But the cool thing is that box, especially in such nice condition that he's got it in. And man, I love that Hildebrand art, and it's just as sharp as heck. I wouldn't mind having one of those.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Hildebrand art. So. Just trying to not only highlight things on the archive that deserve more attention, but
get the niche oddball stuff in there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely cool. I mean, as you know, the Takara folks made a whole bunch of cool stuff. I mean, to me, that's one of the great Star Wars licensees because they only made stuff for a couple years in the late 70s, and basically everything they made was just not produced enough. Well, they made some stuff that was released in other countries, but a lot of the stuff they did was like original by them and released only in Japan. And I've always been somewhat perplexed that people didn't go more crazy collecting it. Just kind of, I think a lot of people view it as this oddball area that they don't get into, and they're just like, oh yeah, that stuff. But you don't see that many people pursuing it.
Right.
But it's definitely cool. The products they made are just awesome. I have the catalog, the dealer catalog from, I think, 78. I think we looked at it at my house, didn't we, Skye?
Yeah.
And it's just, like, super awesome. You page through, you're like, man, all these weird, unique products that were made by them. Just very cool.
Yeah, and they're often of superior quality, and they'll do cool, like, just things will shoot for no reason. It's actually...
I don't know if people know, but, they made figures that were basically mostly die-cast that were like 7-inch tall figures, and then they made, of course, the big 8-inch plastic figures, several figures that shoot missiles out of their chests. There's a lightsaber with color-changing discs to make the the light of the blade change. Just a bunch of cool stuff like that. Obviously, the wind-up C-3PO that was also released in Canada. I mean, wind-up R2-D2 that was also released in Canada. Just really cool stuff. And I would encourage someone who's got a little bit of money but isn't rich and is looking for an area to focus, instead of doing like a character collector or trying to buy first shots or whatever, to pursue Takara stuff. I mean, it's something you can probably make a dent with a decent amount of money and have a collection that most other people don't have.
Right, and you could, a lot of it costs a fair amount of money, but it's out there. You don't have to bug someone forever.
It's not dirt cheap, but compared to what people are paying for some things, you could buy the stuff without, selling your grandma.
Right.
Your grandma Tarkin.
Yes, my grandma Tarkin. Hey, speaking of this, I just was looking around on just while we're talking. I think I need to find a missile-firing C-3PO. You know, the die-cast C-3PO that shoots a missile out of its stomach?
Yeah. I love those. I love that. It's got those red eyes, like it looks like it's going to kill you, And it's the most imposing C-3PO toy ever made, and it's just, I think it's definitely cool. What's going through the mind of the Japanese toy designer who's like, hey, we should make a killer C-3PO?
Well, I can tell you, it's the country that brought you Mechagodzilla, so which I
guess.
Watched this afternoon.
And come to think of it, when the prequels rolled around, nobody knew that R2-D2 had, little rocket jets in his legs.
That's true.
These new movies could come out, and you could discover that C-3PO really does have a missile in his chest.
That's right. Mecha C-3PO.
Yeah, but, the key to those pieces, the ones I got years and years ago, and they still come up on eBay, but the boxes tend to be hammered, which is unfortunate because they're black, and they get dinged and whatnot, and they don't look as good. So the key to finding those is to get the decent boxes.
Right. Well, that's good, and I went down to my family's house in Massachusetts, and I was looking around, and I always freak out because Ron has a shipping box from my favorite toy store, which is Mr. Big's Toyland on Moody Street in Waltham, and they would always advertise during Channel 38's Creature Double Feature, where they'd show Godzilla movies. So I've been thinking about that. I was in my parents' basement, and I actually found this awesome poster that they must have bought at Moody's Toyland. It's for some Japanese cartoon. I don't really know what it is. I'm sure Alex Bickmore is jumping up and down. I haven't even said anything about it. He probably knows what it is. But it's got these weird dinosaurs that shoot things. And anyways, it's really cool, and it's all in Japanese. And I don't know. It was just thinking about that, just the feeling of being an American kid playing with Japanese toys in 1982, and just being like, who made this? This weighs 20 more pounds. There's 20 more things. It attaches. It connects. It's completely superior.
Yeah, well, definitely. Those toys. I like weird, unique stuff. So when I first started collecting, that was one of the first things I honed in on was, wow, this Japanese stuff is cool.
Yeah.
But, 20 years later, and it still seems like most people don't care. But, that's fine. That's the way things are, I guess.
Right. And I actually, too, Steve, you might find this interesting. I was looking around, and I was just kind of flipping stuff over, looking around, seeing what I could find. I find this baseball. I pick it up, turn it over. It's a Ted Williams autographed baseball.
What?
Just sitting in the bottom of a box.
Man, how does that happen?
I don't know. I know where we bought it. I remember making I know I must have made my dad buy it for me. It was, there was a time where Ted Williams wasn't that big of a deal, in the 80s or whatever. But I don't remember buying it. He doesn't remember buying it for me. So maybe it's faked. I don't know. But that was definitely the best of the base. My childhood plush Chewbacca's there. So that's pretty cool, except I won't even touch it because I just look at it and it makes me sneeze. But,
you need to get it in some kind of crazy safe box, some kind of.
Maybe the ball isn't signed by Ted Williams, the Red Sox player, but it's Ted Williams, the man with the golden voice from a couple of years back.
Yeah, that could be that.
That's probably even better. To tell the truth. That's got to be rarer than a Ted Williams, a baseball player autograph.
Yeah, he signed tons of baseballs.
Yeah, I know.
Well, let's see. I think the next thing on here. Oh, we should do an intro for this feature that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a feature that's a parody of This American Life by Skyera Glass, which is an NPR TV show, and it's going to be called This Vintage Life with Skyera Glass. So Ron and Steve, you're going to hear. This is going to be quite a story. We're going to have a story from Ron, but this is going to be a story time. This Gargan Largan episode is really, it's pretty nice in Gargan Largan. So let's have a listen to that.
This week on This American Life, it's a story about destruction and friendship. The destruction of a priceless item and the inability to destruct a priceless friendship. We all know about the double telescoping lightsaber, about its value. But do we know the real value of someone who'd come running into your workplace with a box, hoping to share something with you? We all know how evil and destructive AFA is with its policies of opening up figures and grading them. But do we know how evil it is to bring money into a friendship? I'm going to talk to Tom Quinn. He was the one I was talking about with the workplace. You see, he works at a bank. And he and his friends, Jason and Mike, had an amazing adventure with a very happy ending and a few unexpected turns. This week, on This Vintage Collector's Life, let's learn a little bit about things you want to buy and things you can't. So Tom, tell us what happened. One day you were at work, and what happened?
My friend Jason Thomas usually texts me when he sees something interesting on eBay. And I was at work one day and he sent me an eBay link to a 12-back Luke. And I clicked on the link and he asked me, is there anything unusual about the 12-back?
So it was just a normal day and you guys were texting back and he said, do you see anything strange about this? And what did you see, Tom?
At first I couldn't see anything, so I went to my iPad and pulled it up and enlarged the picture of the bubble, and everything looked fine. But he said, look a little bit closer. So I looked at the lightsaber, and it looked like it may have been a double telescoping saber.
Look closer. So he asked you to look closer, and when you did, you thought it could be a double telescoping lightsaber, which, if it was, is one of the rarest variations of any kind of Star Wars figure. It could sell for anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 in good condition. And here it was on eBay. How much was it going for at that point, at that auction?
It was an auction type, and at the time it was only about $400.
That must have been very exciting. So what did you decide to do with your... Now, is Jason your friend?
Yes. He and I are both members of the Empire State Star Wars Collectors Club.
So you guys know each other and you get along. That's how you could share. That's how he could share such an amazing find. Most people would see something like this and hide it. But you guys both decided to look closer into your friendship. And so what did you decide to do then? You both thought it could be a double telescoping lightsaber.
Well, we decided that we weren't sure, so we started texting our other friend in the collectors group named Mike. And Mike also took a look at it, and he saw the same thing, that it might be a double telescoping.
Right, so this is something that happens a lot, where you look on eBay and you think you might get a steal. You might be able to find something that no one else has found. It must have been really exciting, and yet you had to share it. Were you scared about fighting or about hurting the friendship?
No, we pretty much decided that if we were going to bid on this thing, that we'd go in on it together.
Wow, so 3 friends doing something that could be a source of greed and of division becomes a source of strength. So what wound up happening? Did you win the auction?
We did. A couple days went by, and we actually got it for, I think, around $900.
$900, so $300 each. And at this point, you don't know if it's a double telescoping lightsaber. If you had asked, they would have looked closer themselves and maybe sold it for more. So you just had to wait. So what was next on this amazing adventure?
Well, we had to wait for it to get shipped to us, and when it did, Jason brought it in to me at work. He hadn't even opened it yet.
Now, where do you work?
I work at the Adirondack Trust Company, a bank in Saratoga Springs, New York.
So you're here inside of this bank, this cold world of steel and glass, and in comes this man with a brown cardboard box, and you don't know the contents, and he pops it right down in the middle of your desk. You opened it up, and what did you see?
We opened it up, and it sure looked like a double telescoping Luke to us.
The friends have found what they're looking for. Now let's see if they can find something else after the break. This is WDGB, your NPR station for Rochester, Santa Barbara. This is Skye Rizdal. It's pledge drive time at WDGB. Please pick up your phone and call. Remember, all of our funding comes from your listener dollar. Also, the government pays us a lot, and huge corporations that need tax breaks. But you are the only person who makes this possible. So please, give. And now back to our story. Tom Quinn. So what were your emotions at this point?
Well, we were very excited, and we wanted to share it with Mike, our good news, and then we were thinking about what are we going to do with it now?
And so what did you decide to do?
Well, the only way that we can truly probably resell it would be to get it AFA certified.
So you're going to send it off to the Great Satan, AFA, the people who take toys and put them in acrylic, because you know that's the only way you can maximize your profit. Now, was there any thought of actually just keeping the figure?
We had talked about it, and we decided that since we all went in on it, that we were going to all sell it together.
Right, or else you'd have to sort of share it and pass it around between you, and that wouldn't be much fun. So you sent it off to AFA, and what was that like?
Well, Jason had sent it in, and he did rush grading on it, so it was the longest week waiting for it to come back.
So even though you rushed it, it still took a week. Did you go with the standard tier? Did you go with the premium? They have different tiers of pricing. Did you go as fast and as expensive as you could?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we were very curious to get it back.
Okay, so then the time comes, and what happens? How did you get it? Was it sent to you? How did it come?
Well, again, Jason got it shipped to him, and he brought it into the bank for the grand unveiling. We wanted to see what kind of grade this would get.
So we're back in the Adirondack Savings and Trust, and we're there in this great big building in the middle of this cold industrial setting, surrounded by money and people thinking about money, and here's your box, and thinking inside the box there might be the most money you could possibly make on a Star Wars collectible.
Yes, that's true.
And what happened when you opened the box?
Skye, they had you graded our figure.
Oh, no! You graded your figure. They opened it up and put it into an acrylic box.
We couldn't, for the life of us, figure out what happened, but they had actually removed the figure off the card back, included the card back and the bubble in the box, and you graded our figure.
Before we continue with our story with Tom, let's talk about you grading one more time. AFA, the Action Figure Authority, takes a carded figure and takes that figure that's been inside of that bubble for 35 years and rips it off of its card back and puts it into an acrylic case and puts a U on it saying it's been uncirculated, never touched by human hands, except for the hand that destroyed it. So you thought you would have a carded Luke, double telescoping lightsaber figure, and instead you have tangible proof that it was a carded double telescoping figure, but it is no more. How did that happen?
Well, in our haste to send it out, we had clicked the wrong button.
And so what at that point did you stop talking to Jason altogether? Did you guys just break up the Empire State Star Wars Collectors Club? What happened then? I mean, you must have been crushed.
Oh no, we didn't blame Jason at all. I mean, he was the guy who actually picked this out for us. So I wasn't upset at all. I mean, I gave a little nervous laughter and wondered what we were going to do with it.
And when we were talking about it previously, you said that you guys came up with a name for the figure.
Yeah, our little bastard.
Why did you call it our little bastard?
Because none of us wanted to own up to being the father of this thing.
So you text back and forth about the fate of your little bastard. What did you do? Where did you keep it until you could figure out what to do with it?
We were so disgusted that we didn't want to look at it. We just put it in a safe deposit box in my bank.
So amongst all the family jewels and all the gold coins and whatever it is that people keep inside of the boxes, there was one ungraded, double telescoping Luke Skywalker figure. Did you put the bubble and the card back in the safety deposit box as well?
No, just the figure. We took the card back and brought it home.
Who has that?
Jason had that.
Okay, and so then how did you finally resolve the issue?
Well, we knew that we couldn't really sell it because we didn't want to own up to the fact that we had U-graded a perfectly good carded double telescoping Luke. So he just sat there for quite some time. But
so you were afraid? What were you afraid of?
Well, with all the stigma with the U-grading of the figure, we didn't want anybody to think that we had either ripped it off a card or taken it out of a baggie.
So not only was it a bastard because no one wanted to own it, but you were all ashamed of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I was talking to you and I was friends with you during this time, and you never told me about your little bastard. You never told me about your love child that you had with 2 other collectors.
Aren't you glad I didn't?
I probably would have tried to buy it off you. So then, is it still in the safety deposit box now?
Well, finally, we got our heads together, and Mike decided that he wanted to give this a home. Mike had always wanted a double telescoping Luke, so we managed to work out a trade for the 3 of us. And so he traded. What did he trade to you? I got a beautiful vinyl Cape Jawa that I'd always wanted. And is it U-graded? No. He's loose. Mike got him in the wild. And so why was it that you traded something that isn't U-graded? Why didn't you want a graded Jawa to make sure it was authentic? Well, Mike, when he buys things, he buys them in bulk. And he had 3 vinyl Cape Jawas, so he had a very good idea of what they should look like. And I trust Mike implicitly, so he was able to trade it, and I had full confidence in what I was getting. I don't collect U-graded figures. I'm looking at your collection. I don't see anything AFA graded. So not only are you not the kind of person who would tear a figure off of the card, but you wouldn't even want it if it was offered to you. Instead, you traded it for this beautiful, loose vinyl Cape Jawa that's rare, but that is authentic and is much more meaningful than if it was proven authentic by a grading service. That vinyl Cape Jawa means a lot to me. He sits right in the front of my display case. That's beautiful. And I suppose we'd have to ask Jason what he traded his for. So, in the end, what do you feel about this whole experience? Well, lesson learned that I shouldn't try to profit by by sending things to AFA to be graded when I myself wouldn't buy anything like that. Since I recorded this story, Tom has shared it with a few other friends. Our surgeon friend, Yehuda, said that if he heard it while he was operating, he would have missed with the scalpel because he was so mad with rage. Questions circulated. Who was at fault? Is it AFA's policy?
Was it their haste in filling out the form? Or are these just the things that happen? The story even gets worse. We recently found out that this was a particularly rare kind of double telescoping lightsaber. It's called a rare circle variant. And if this had survived, it would have been the only known carded circle variant double telescoping lightsaber in existence. And I guess if there's any moral to this story, it's not about not using AFA. It's that it's really good to have friends. And no matter what happens, friends stay together. This is Skyera Glass, reminding you that you don't collect things. You collect memories with people who also collect things. Alright, this is Skye. This is going to be a two-parter. I'm looking at 1 hour and 40 minutes, and I don't even think we're halfway done with the show. And also, it is June 26th as I'm recording this, and this is technically the May episode, so I'm going to try and get 2 out of this. Just a quick note, I said at the beginning of the show my divorce is ending, which it is, but I got the same house, but I don't have any furniture. And so I've been moving furniture and setting stuff up and trying to have a social life, all that kind of stuff, while teaching this online class. So I'm just busier than a hen in a peacock farm. So that's what's up. Sorry that it's taken so long, Space Freaks. You guys are great. One thing I can tell you, if I kept this in one piece, it would have been like a 4-hour podcast. And only garbage podcasts are 4 hours long. No, I'm just kidding. Since we last released, the Star Wars SWCA came out with their podcast, and I want to give a full review later, but I wanted to hate it. I wanted to think it was absolute knobshite, and it wasn't absolute knobshite. Most of it was great. Some of it was opening jitters. But I have to say, they did a good job, and it's 4 hours, and I like long podcasts, so if you feel like you're not getting enough Kivecast, go over there and have a listen. There's especially a really good feature there about, British, supplies. I mean, pencil sharpeners and stuff. That's really good. I will say, I did recently learn that they named the episode, Eating the Wookiee or chewing the Wookiee, which apparently was a knock at me for my edited rant where I said I will eat a Chewbacca. I have 2 things to say about that. SWCA. One, do you know what I actually said? What I said was, if you come up with a drop that's better than Nugget from the Archive, I will eat a Chewbacca figure. So, because someone criticized my sound drops. So, I will say, I did not hear a sound drop that was better. I still challenge you on that. And second of all, if you're going to make fun of a Chewbacca collector on your podcast title, why don't you spell Wookiee right? You knobshites. Alright. It's got 2 E's, you see. So, these are little details. I mean, you add an extra U in color that's not supposed to be there. Color. So maybe it's a British thing. Maybe there's only 1 E. Anyways, that is the end of my weird halfway point here. Oh, and also, good job on the World Cup. Okay. Well, now that I have both highly praised this SWCA and insulted it, I feel like I'm doing a good job of keeping up my end of the bargain. You guys keep trying to attack us. You guys go, you Space Freaks, have a listen to it, and look out for the next episode of the Kivecast, which I've already recorded. It's got some cool stuff. Ron tells a story. We got an interview with Joker Savage, and it's basically part 2 of the Leia Hoth thing. All right, and on behalf of Ron Salvatore, Matthias Randall, and Stephen B. Danley, I say, adios, fantastisch Ugler train, wampa wampa.
With its colorful Star Wars picture display set and certificate.